I feel like I'm all out of ideas.
You know what I'd do?
What?
I don't know. I got nothing.
Alright, time to tackle the other bad Cars movie, Cars 3, the Pixar movie from 2017 that wasn't nearly perfect. I've made my opinion on Cars 2 quite clear, so I figured I'd take another in-depth look at this movie that I've gone on record as saying the first hour and a half of the movie plays out exactly as you'd expect, until the last 20 minutes where it all just kind of falls apart. Let's see how that holds up. Good news, Cars 2 is not mentioned anywhere in this movie. That not only helps Cars 3 rise above its deformed predecessor, but also further proves the point that Cars 2 never should have happened and is completely insignificant. Cars 3 begins by going back to the roots of Cars 1 with
Speed. I am speed.
In fact, we even get to see the greatest character from the first Cars movie again, Chick Hicks. You know what? Let's start this review off with something positive. I think the way they utilized Chick Hicks in this movie was perfect. He was in the movie for just the right amount of time and had a role that was not only hilarious, but insanely accurate to his character. It's honestly a shame that a side character in this movie had the most accurate and interesting role because, spoiler alert, McQueen is pretty dumb in this movie. What a surprise. Right off the bat, the movie makes it quite obvious that McQueen is probably gonna retire. Not only are all his veteran friends retiring, but during the final race of the season, in a desperate attempt to prove that he still has something, he literally almost dies. But you know what? Fine. Maybe he's just going through a rough patch and he can redeem himself next season after intense training. 4 months later. Wow, so you're telling me McQueen wasted 4 months in a garage? Alright, guess he's done racing.
I decide when I'm done.
Dude, you have 2 weeks. Any chance of you beating Storm is long out the window. I will admit, I like the parallelism between McQueen and Doc in this movie. McQueen doesn't want the crash to define the death of his career, just like it did with Doc. But this is something McQueen should have figured out 4 months ago when he had time to train. This denial in McQueen's head is what pushes the movie forward. His dire yearning to race in the big league is blinding him from the fact that he's getting older and he can't do this forever. So if the movie is smart, then it will end with McQueen figuring this out and committing to retirement. Let's see how that goes. The plot is put into full force when the new owner of Rusty's makes a bet with McQueen. If he wins the first race of the season, he gets to continue racing. If not, he retires. Cue training montage. Okay, so McQueen and his trainer Cruz Ramirez have a boomer-zoomer relationship where Cruz thinks she knows the best way to train him, while McQueen is constantly getting ticked off because she's treating him like an old man. After arguing all day on the beach, McQueen decides to go to a racing tournament at a track that Doc used to practice on. But it's actually not a racing tournament, it's a demolition derby, and yeah, McQueen ain't happy. So McQueen does what McQueen does best, and he breaks character to advance the plot. He screams at Cruz for like 2 minutes because he's upset about almost dying at the demolition derby, but like, McQueen, this was your idea.
Thunder Hollow! There's a dirt track there! I waste a night and the crosshairs a Miss Fritter!
Why are you mad at her for this? The only reason this argument happens is so Cruz can give her heartfelt speech about wanting to be a racer, which ultimately leads to McQueen letting her race at the end. Does this sound familiar? In Cars 2, McQueen broke character to force Mater to go to the airport, and now he's doing it again in this movie. I honestly can't say that I'm surprised, but it really is a shame considering the end of Cars 1 really felt like we were getting a new McQueen. A McQueen that doesn't blame others for his actions and then grumble over the consequences. But I guess if there's a gap in the plot, you can always count on McQueen's inconsistent character to bridge it. The events of this movie are as follows. Training montage. That's basically it. It's kind of the exact thing that you would expect from a third Cars movie. I mean, a second Cars movie. Cars 2 doesn't exist, it's not canon, it never happened, it's trash. We all know that McQueen's gonna learn that the new generation of cars is too fast for him. He's gonna figure out that being someone's trainer is what can give him the joy that he's searching for, much like Doc Hudson's character learned in the first movie. He retires, he trains Cruz, the end. I'd hate to give this pile of garbage any credit, but at least Cars 2 was unpredictable. That doesn't make it good, not even slightly. But by the time Finn McDonald's is caught with a magnet, Holly Phil Swiftwell is cornered by the blue tow truck dude, and tow freaking Mater passes out from Professor Z's gas, can anyone really guess what's gonna happen next? Obviously they're gonna break out because it's a Disney movie, but it's not as straightforward and easy to predict as something like, you must win the race, training montage. This predictability makes the better half of the movie feel really mediocre, until we get to the big race. So fast forward through all the training and the day has finally come. McQueen is ready to give the Miami race his best shot, and yeah, he's not doing so great. And after only a few laps, upon hearing a not so fun conversation, monkey brain dummy dumb McQueen finally figures out that he shouldn't be racing. So he does what he should have done before the race and sends Cruz out to finish it.
The rules only say the number has to be out there. Doesn't say who has to wear it.
What? This is allowed? Is NASCAR all of a sudden a tag team sport? I'm actually asking. I have no knowledge on NASCAR other than it's cars that race. But you know what? Fine. Whatever. I'll let this one slide. I mean, it's not like she's gonna win.
I don't believe it. It's Cruz.
Are you kidding me? Jackson Storm is a car that was manufactured to be the fastest car in the world.
I refer, of course, to racing data. Tire pressure, downforce, weight distribution.
Jackson Storm is a car that has effortlessly passed McQueen on the track and the simulator multiple times. Jackson Storm is the car that was making world record lap times literal days before the race. There isn't even the slightest chance that anyone could have beat him during this race. It doesn't even take a 2-year-old to look at these two cars and say, that one's gonna win. You know, Monsters University's blunt and unfiltered message may have seemed a little harsh, but it at least made sense. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you simply aren't gonna be better than someone else because of something you can't control. No matter how many books Mike Wazowski studies or how much passion he has in him, he simply will never be as scary as someone like Sully because look at him. Apply this same line of reasoning to Cars 3. Or don't, because the movie would rather take a blissfully false vision of reality than an accurate one. But you know what? Fine, I'm okay with this happening. It makes no sense and completely contradicts the movie they made only 4 years ago, but fine. This isn't the main point of the movie. McQueen deciding to retire and train Cruz is what this entire film has been hinting, leading, and striding towards. As long as that point isn't tampered with, I'm fine with this broken area of the film. Hooray, Cruz won, but guess who didn't? That's right, McQueen. Well, you gave it your best shot. I guess it's time to retire now.
Hang on now.
Why is my name up there?
You started the race. That's how it works.
What? Again, this is where I ask, is NASCAR a tag team sport? Because this movie really wants it to be. Either way, McQueen literally raced like 5 laps and didn't even break the top half of the lead. You could make the argument that his encouraging words to Cruz as she was racing is what got her the victory, but if that's the case, then every racer's coach should also get the win. But you know what? Fine, I'm okay with this too. In fact, this is actually really clever because now McQueen actually has a chance to continue racing. But obviously that's not gonna happen because as we've seen, McQueen is a grown character who's ready to face retirement. Honestly, even though this tag team decision seems to come out of nowhere, it's kind of amazing just for the simple fact that McQueen has a choice. Retirement is no longer being forced on McQueen, he's choosing it for himself because he knows it's the best thing for him to do.
Oh, I'm gonna keep racing.
What? Why? Did you even learn anything? What is the point of this movie if you aren't retiring? That's literally what this entire thing was leading to. You know, I've thought long and hard about this one simple decision made at the end of the movie, and I don't understand it. What reason is there for him to continue racing when they made a movie that was so blatantly trying to throw him into retirement? Because like I said before, the movie made it clear that he needs to retire. Not the characters, but the movie.
I am not taking a nap.
Really think about what this scene is implying. It's showing that the other characters are correct and McQueen is wrong. He does need a nap after driving on a 5-mile-per-hour treadmill because he's old. And if McQueen truly isn't retiring, then please tell me what the significance of any of these scenes were. At this part, McQueen comes to the blunt realization that no matter how hard he tries, he's never gonna be faster than the new generation. At this part, he decides to give up racing and give Cruz the chance she never had, which she should have figured out here, but whatever, bad writing. And at this part, he feels the genuine achievement of helping Cruz finish the race. If he was stupid enough to not figure it out any time before this should be the scene where McQueen grasps that there is no greater accomplishment than to watch someone you trained win in first place. Even greater than the rush of moving 200 miles per hour inches away from the other cars, pushing yourself faster than you thought you could go. It's the feeling Doc Hudson felt in the first movie, and it's the feeling McQueen should have right now. But I guess not, because we're Pixar and we might want to make a Cars 4 in the future, but we can't market that movie as well if McQueen isn't racing in the front line, so it's alright. He doesn't need to retire in this movie. He can learn absolutely nothing. We'll still make billions off the merchandise. This franchise is quite similar to McQueen in this movie. No matter how many signs point to its retirement, it's not going to end because money. Just as you think this movie's end can't get any worse, Pixar pulls off what has to be their most lazy and forced epilogue ever. The insane leaps this movie makes in the last 3 minutes to give it that really good, feel-good, happy wrap-up is so blatantly forced that it ironically radiates no emotions.
Miss Cruz, I would be tickled pink to have you race for Team Dynaco.
Wow, that was quick. I guess it sorta makes sense, but it just feels so forced here in the end. There wasn't a time jump where she further proves that she's a good racer, it just kinda happens like 2 minutes after the race. How convenient. But even more convenient is what happens with Rusty's.
About what Tex is gonna say, considering he, bought Rusty's. Thanks, Tex.
I made that Sterling fella a Texas-size offer.
Oh my god. You better have paid him a flip ton of money, because even though McQueen isn't retiring now, he's gonna retire eventually. And when he does, Sterling's got a gold mine on his hands. Also, he literally just bought the company like 2 weeks ago. Honestly, it feels like this part is only here so the movie can be like, we did it, we beat the bad guy of the movie, he's gone, you can live happily ever after now. But is this realistic? No, it's not. After 2 underwhelming sequels, I think it's safe to say that this franchise should come to an end. You can hate on the first Cars all you want, but you've got to admit that the story had a purpose. Unlike the other 2 abominations, by the end of this movie, McQueen learns to get off his pedestal and do what's right. He learns that racing isn't about winning, and in turn it makes him a better person. He no longer is an insensitive, egotistic youngster getting angry at people for something that was out of their control. It's a shame the sequels retcon this. In Cars 1, we see a clear difference between McQueen's character in the beginning and end. At the beginning, he fantasizes about getting Dynaco's sponsorship, and at the end, he turns it down because he's found a better crew. All they had to do was look at what they did in Cars 1. That's all the writers had to do for this movie. It really seems like the writers didn't have a plan for these sequels other than to make something that was marketable for children who don't have a grasp at what makes a good story. If they wanted to make a story that was good, McQueen would have retired in Cars 3, and Cars 2 never would have happened. With every new addition to Toy Story, they not only expanded the universe in a faithful and intriguing way, they introduced new characters and story elements that ended up surpassing the quality of the original in my opinion. The reason I get so angry over these 2 sequels isn't because I'm some crazy dude who hates Pixar. I love this company, and I know they can make astonishing products. It just really hurts to see them make something so idiotic and blatantly for the cash when they've made some of my favorite works of art ever. So with that being said, let's put all of this behind us and have Cars 3 be the final Cars movie. And good news on that, Cars 4 probably won't happen anymore since John Lasseter seemed to be the only one at the company who cared about these movies and he's no longer there for unfortunate reasons. And Pete Docter, the new CEO, has said that they're only working on originals now. So hey, maybe we do get an unforced happy ending to all of this. It seems like Pixar's going back to their old school way.
Did someone just say old school?
So you're telling me that even after you denounced retirement, even after you refused to give up your spot for another rookie, you're still trying to force this Doc Hudson comparison on us? You want to know the difference between you and Doc? Doc retired! Sure, it wasn't his choice, but it was for the greater good because he eventually got to train you. I just don't understand what the point of this movie is if McQueen is essentially in the same place that he was at the beginning of this film. You know what? I'm done. I'm done with this movie. I'm done with this franchise. Cars 3 sucks. Goodbye. Hey, before you leave, please like and subscribe and share this with your friends. I'm trying to build up an audience and I've got a lot of cool stuff coming, so please consider giving this newbie a try.
Hey, Bob, do you know what's happening with... Wait, you're not Bob.
Name's Danny, bro.